amazing audience, amazing, 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 amazing audience, amazing audience, amazing audience, and amazing audience. So I did all of that because we were waiting for Amanda to like queue up something else. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. But amazing audience. So we are live right now. Where are we right now?
We are in Denver, Colorado.
There we go, and we are with the amazing, now it's Bernadette Slowey, but like her branding name is Berni, B-E-R-N-I. It's a pleasure to meet you.
So nice to see you.
Boom, you fed us. You gave us food.
Yay.
It was good.
And I'm not even a good cook.
I don't know about that. I can't say that.
Oh, I'm so glad that you ate it.
The evidence I have lines up with you being a great cook. So.
Oh, well, there you go.
It's who you are.
I'll take it. I'll take the
Forever,
credit.
ever, ever, you'll be the greatest cook I've experienced thus far. In Denver, Colorado. No, Liz. Liz.
Oh,
yeah.
maybe Liz. Maybe
Liz.
we'll have to have a cook-off.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. So the last time we spoke about a few things. Your film, your upcoming movie, yeah. We spoke as well as what you encountered on your travels,
yes.
Yeah, which was pretty amazing that something natural was captured, and now we're in the natural space of your home with the water in the background so naturally flowing, right?
Yeah.
But definitely give us an update, like what's new, what's going on.
Yes.
Fill us in.
Wow, well, since the film has premiered, one of the things that has accidentally come into play is that I found that I really enjoy speaking to groups. So what's the fun part of doing film festivals is that you get to travel, and in doing so with the film and the audiences, there's Q&As after the film premieres. And so with the screening, I have a chance to talk to the audience, get some Q&A, but also tell the story a little bit more. And so many people were telling me that this is a way for you to actually go and extend on that story, because so much has happened since the premiere, but also being able to tell a little bit about what happened in between the takes and behind the scenes of the production and what happens coming home. But really, as my movie, living my movie and the documentary, that I'm continuing to live that story. And in doing so, that's where I found that I just enjoy public speaking. I've had a TED Talk since then.
Sweet.
Yes, and which you can find that. It's really about owning your story. Stop running from your story.
That's the name of it? Stop running from your
Stop
story?
running from your story.
TED Talks. Now tell us the name of your movie. You didn't say that.
Berni's Journey is
go.
my movie.
There we go.
Berni's Journey resulted because of, we were talking on the beach with Stephen Hobbs, who is one of the spiritual teachers that I interviewed during the trip to India. And when we were relating it to almost like an experience of Alice in Wonderland, because I did fall, it felt like I had really went into a whole nother world. And India is a whole nother world.
I've never experienced it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Because of the colors and the sounds, the scents, but also there's so much juxtaposition that you experience because of the number of people that live there and the long history. You can have brand new development on one side of the street, and then you see the other side of the street and you're seeing poverty.
What was Stephen doing there though?
Stephen happened to be part of the entourage with some of the Evolution Business Council members.
Yeah.
So some of those people that you've probably interviewed.
Yeah, Stephen is a great guy.
Wonderful man.
Yeah.
And so he was one of the several that I'd interviewed. So others from the council, Harrison Klein, Marbeth Dunn, Jennifer Huff, and I also interviewed my roommate, Bianca Zoe, on the trip. And then we went to Rishikesh and went to the Parmanath Ashram.
Right.
And so that's all of the people that were in the film that happened to be part of my journey. But the cool thing about it is that they're still in my life.
Yeah.
And how their journeys have evolved since then too, right? Because it just never ends. And that would have been a cool thing to put at the end of the credits, actually, is that even if it was the end of the movie, it's like cross it out and put a new beginning of another story.
Yeah, which is amazing. The journey continues.
Yes, it does.
One of the segments we love to cover is your own unique real shoes or slippers, right? It really speaks to people who do not understand the struggles you've endured. But I think it's so important to share struggles, because if it's one thing that is universal, is a struggle.
Absolutely.
What's one struggle you've had in the last year, over the last year? You can share if you want or not.
No, I will tell you. I will definitely tell you. And what's interesting is that I think that's part of the human connection and the universal stories of all of us. We're all heroes in our journey. And oftentimes what I call the dreadful D's. And
I remember that.
Yes.
So I could say it. Let's see how good I am.
Yes.
Disease, divorce. Is it death?
Death.
Oh, boom. So that's
Yes.
3. Disease,
3.
divorce, death.
Disaster.
And there's one more, 4. Oh, disaster.
Disaster, like natural disasters.
So how much is there? 3 or 4?
I usually say that there's, it's not like we say that there's only so many dreadful D's. I liken it to whatever is it for that person. There could be dependency or addiction. And so those things that we all encounter, one of those, whatever the transition is, the cosmic 2x4 that hits us and says, here's an experience for you. And what I learned through this last year in particular, I lost my grandmother and I lost my father-in-law. And a good friend of ours, her brother died, all in a matter of 10 days. And so when we were dealing with the losses and watching my husband experience his loss with his father, and his father is he was a retired colonel. And I think that most military, because they're so regimented, and it happened to be where his father was very much like the great Santini. If you've ever seen that movie with Robert Duvall, it's absolutely outstanding.
He's a strong guy.
Very strong man. And what's interesting about him is that he felt as though, and this may be a generational thing, but his role, he felt that showing love was to show that he was supporting his family.
Yeah.
And that being a tough man. And he would always, though, be so kind to me and be lavish with praise and tell me that he loved me all the time. And so I always told my husband, Joe, I said, he may not have been able to do that for you directly, but he does it indirectly by the way he treats me and how he speaks to me is really how he feels about you.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Happy wife is equal to happy life.
Happy life. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. That's amazing. So the struggle would be summed up as?
I would say the death.
The death.
And multiple deaths. And my grandmother, I will tell you, my grandmother Florence Fadig, she was born Florence Shotkotsky. And she grew up in Nebraska. And she was such an amazing woman. Her family was a large group of farmers, Shotkotsky family. She was one of 9 children. 3 sets of twins in those 9. So she was a single. But what she did was really unconventional for her at the time, because in that era, you just followed the footsteps with your family, and she was to stay in farming. But she chose to join the Army and became a nurse.
Wow.
And her father didn't want her to do it. But that was really her leap of faith, right? Of like following her heart and what she wanted to be able to do. Right after, this is where I get fuzzy on what happened, but it was around the Battle of the Bulge, and I think either it was just after or before that she received the Bronze Star from General Patton personally.
Wow.
And there's an amazing picture that we have, and it looks so almost eerie, because the photo that was captured, you see, it just seems to really target and hone in on General Patton giving my grandmother the Bronze Star.
Wow.
And in the background it looks like there's just fog, and that there you can see an outline of soldiers, and then you see almost in the fog just the legs of soldiers. And because as a nurse, I really felt like there were those ghost soldiers that were coming to honor the nurses as well.
That is intriguing.
Yeah, I have to send you the picture.
You took the words out of my mouth.
It is. It's just an incredible photo. It's my favorite photo.
What are you excited about?
What am I excited about? The continued journey.
All right.
Yes. So along with speaking, one of the things that I've also learned that I really enjoy is coaching people. But more than anything, I'm wanting to create these experiences. So I like to call it experiential coaching. And more than that, I want to be able to create more of the retreats that are just as experiential of how I was given this wonderful gift to go through India and have so many people that supported me.
Great idea.
And so to take that as a concept and go to venerated places all over the world. And one of those places I would love to go to is Peru.
Right.
But I have a list of places. Maybe Trinidad has to be one
Oh
of them.
my, it would be great to have you there in Trinidad. Yes, Trinidad
Yes.
should be one, yes.
Well, and in paradise, right?
Yes.
And I really feel that with my experience of transformation, right, it was really that I had to have a breakdown. And there was a moment in my trip in India where I had to be faced with something that was going to give me the catalyst of that being on the precipice of change. And my Cobra experience brought me to my knees, literally, but also brought me to life. Because that's where I realized when people are out of their comfort zone and they're faced with things that maybe they would normally handle it differently if they were in the comfort of their environment, but placed out of their environment. It's such a powerful response to really bringing out what needs to be brought out in order to have that breakthrough.
Yeah.
And so the beautiful thing about the retreats is that I want to also be able to continue with some of the media experience I've had with the filmmaking and see what else there can be done. Maybe there's an opportunity to do some virtual reality around there so that people who can't attend directly,
It was a great idea.
right?
Yeah.
Some ways to maybe
Good
integrate
plug-in.
new media, new
Yeah.
digital, playing with the technology that we
I
have
love
now.
it. I love it. Where can people connect with you? Where's the best place for them to follow Berni Slowey?
Follow Berni Slowey with follow me on Berni's Journey. And again, Berni's Journey, BERNI, and it's an apostrophe S with Journey. And you can also find me at bernislowey.com.
There we go. SLOWEY.
Yes.
So when you heard that this guy from the Caribbean that you spoke to on a podcast was coming to not to Trinidad, to Colorado to meet you.
No, I'm coming to Trinidad.
What did you think?
Oh, I was so excited to meet you in person.
Yeah.
Because when we first connected on the 12-minute conversations, the 12-minute convos, and I found out through the EBC that you were doing this extraordinary 1,000 interviews in, I think it was 300 days, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at that time it was 90 days.
90 days? Oh my gosh. So yeah, and I just thought this will be great because I was just learning more about podcasts and I'm interested in creating my own podcast as a channel.
Which is a great idea.
Yes, and Instagram.
It's powerful.
You have also now they have Instagram Live as a channel you can create, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing is that we're in an era of
to share.
Yes, so many opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think story is so important. So when I connected with you and I shared with you that, I went to India and did this film.
We did a 26-minute conversation.
Yes, it wasn't 12 minutes.
Yeah.
But you were delightful because they said, oh, are we at 12 minutes? And you said, no, let's just keep the conversation going.
No one can shoot me for going over my 12 minutes.
It's up to you,
Yeah,
right?
it's up to me. Yeah, that's great. Bernadette, in closing, I said Bernadette because it's
That's
pretty.
okay.
Yeah. What would you like to share with our amazing audience in closing?
Well, along the way of not just experiencing what I did in India, but because I use movies as a metaphor on how to live life. And a lot of what I've created, whether it's been my speaking or the coaching, I really use film as the way of viewing how we want to create our movie. And so we really have an opportunity to reframe how we have seen our life. So in the past, many times that I felt like a victim of my circumstances, evacuating from Vietnam during the fall of Saigon, and having some challenges growing up, with the prejudices of the war and things like that, and really wanting to come into my own, that a lot of the things that had happened to me, why I left my corporate career, things that I thought at one time that happened to me, recognizing that it was the resilience that I was building, the survival mechanism, all those things that brought me to that courtyard in the India with the Cobra, that I could do it no matter what. If I thought I had a failing project, there was something that came out of it, and I had the resilience to move forward. So from victim to victor. And the other thing too is being able to have the ability to rescript So changing the script and also creating the script and how we want to live our story. And most importantly, we are the director of our lives. That's why, however we choose the lens we see life through, how we want to write our story, we own our story and direct our life, and know that sometimes it takes inaction, not just action, but inaction to fall into the surrendering of the magic that can unfold.
I love it. Berni, this is a great pleasure. Berni Slowey, folks. Berni, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thank you so much, Angel.
You're welcome. Boom. Did you have fun?
Of course.
That was great.
I'm sweating though.
Well, it is warm out.